Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Spending hour number two on what I think is a very difficult conversation. It's so close. If you had to buy stock in Vanderbilt or Tennessee athletics over the next decade, who would you take? And we started with football. We both said that, if I had to pick right now, I'd pick Tennessee football, but mostly just because the proof of concept isn't there yet for Vanderbilt. The proof of concept's there. The proof of consistency isn't there for Vanderbilt. We need to see more heading into this next year. So close, but we'll give it to Tennessee on football. Men's basketball, I think, is another really interesting one because obviously Rick Barnes getting up there in age. I think the expectation is that he probably retires within the next couple of years. Tennessee going to have the resources to go out and hire a good successor, but we don't know who that is. And that adds a little bit of murkiness to Tennessee's outlook for the future. For Vanderbilt, Mark Byington came in, brought in a team full of transfers, took the team to the tournament in year one. This year has taken another step forward with basically another team full of transfers with a couple of holdovers here and there. Again, really close. Rick Barnes possibly retiring makes me lean Vanderbilt a little bit here in terms of the future outlook of these programs.
Oh, it's no hesitation. It's Vanderbilt. Look, all respect to Rick Barnes and what he's done with Tennessee. That's not sustainable. I think a lot of players that he brings into that program are not bought in to that program. I'm sorry, Parker, disagree with me if you'd like, but Vanderbilt is on a better trajectory with Mark Byington. It brought back some of that memorial magic with the teams with Festus Ezeli, AJ Ogilvy, Brad Tinsley, Jeffrey Taylor, John Jenkins, that core under Kevin Stallings. That's what I feel when I watch this Vandy team right now. And I think Byington does a really good job at developing players like that to go on to the next level.
And
because there have been the murmurs and rumors of him maybe taking an NBA job. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. And that also concerns me is Mark Byington here for the long haul? You just never know. He is a East Coast guy. I grew up in Virginia, I believe.
Wow.
So if North Carolina opened up or something like that, could he be pulled away? But I feel more confident that if you look, 5-10 years down the road, way more confident Mark Byington could still be here rather than Rick Barnes being in Knoxville. I think he's got what, Parker, would you say like a year or two left for Rick Barnes at Tennessee?
I don't know, because every time someone asks him, he sounds like he could go another 5. I think 2 to 3 personally.
Okay, 2 to 3.
Yeah. Well, I look at Byington as a guy and you made a good point in the first segment there, Jake, about Vanderbilt. They're spending the cash. I am more than confident to say that they would probably spend the cash on Mark Byington to stay at Vanderbilt rather than take a job elsewhere.
And that's what I think this conversation starts with about which athletic program would you take, is that it used to be Tennessee was all in on athletics. And for Vanderbilt, there were years where the university said, we just don't care enough to invest in this program and all our athletic teams. That's over now, though. The chancellor's bought in. There is synergy from top to bottom over there at Vanderbilt, alignment among the university, the athletic department, Candace Story-Lee, and the coaches. And that's where this starts, is that it's not like Tennessee has more money than Vanderbilt. They're investing the same amount. Honestly, Vanderbilt might be paying more to some of these athletes than Tennessee is. So that is where this conversation starts, is we've already seen the progress that just a couple years of investment can make. Look at where all of these Vanderbilt athletic programs were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Outside of baseball, of course. Tim Corbin is a sustaining force in this, but football was 2-10 2 years ago. Men's basketball fired Jerry Stackhouse 2 years ago. Women's basketball 2 years ago made the NCAA tournament, but was one of the last 4 in. All of those programs have taken not just steps forward, leaps forward over the past 2 years. Imagine what another decade of sustained investment from the university and from its fans can do for this program.
It'd be huge. It would be absolutely huge. And to the point on Tennessee's side, when it comes to basketball, if it's, men's or women's, it comes down to itemization of finances. And again, we all know football is king in the sports world. But if it comes down to college football, and there's even been talks about how they have divvied out the money when it comes to potential salary cap with the NFL, but just college football as a whole, there's going to be an itemization of like a certain percentage goes towards football and itemization that goes
Right.
towards,
It's
basketball.
like 75% is to football.
Yes.
15 goes to men's basketball, 5 to women's basketball, and then 5 to everything else.
So then that goes to show you this 10-year, this decade that you're looking at for the future, how in the world, how is that going to affect this going forward? And I think it plays a big factor into it. And I think if you can get on the front foot of it right now, when there's nothing really regulating it, and you can kind of establish yourself. And I think that's what Vanderbilt's doing right now. They're establishing themselves as a prominent name in the SEC and in all of college athletics.
Exactly. And I think men's basketball, you're giving point Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. If I could give 2, I'd give 3.
Okay, I'm going to give point Vanderbilt, but I'm going to say it's close because it's
Really?
just I agree that like Byington, the upward trend, and Rick Barnes, when he retires, you don't know what the successor is going to do.
It's true.
But it could be really good for Tennessee, right? Like they could bring in somebody who takes this program to the next step, or they could take a step back. I don't know. But I will go close point Vanderbilt just because we know the future a little bit more than we do with Tennessee.
Okay.
Women's basketball. I want to give all respect to the Lady Vols program. One of, if not the greatest women's basketball program in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's them and UConn.
Historically,
yes. I mean, Pat Summitt, legend. Women's basketball would not be where it is today without her. But you look at these two programs, Vanderbilt is way up.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I won't say way down, but like this has been a huge step back for them this year.
They're trending towards the bottom of Rocky Top. How about that?
And they're still going to make the tournament this year, which you can argue. So they play LSU at LSU on Thursday, and then the season ends Vanderbilt at Tennessee on Sunday.
Right.
Big game. Playing 2 top 10 teams, could lose both those games. They'd be 16-12 heading into the SEC tournament. Their net and their metrics are going to get them into the tournament, but it's a big step back for this Lady Vols program in year 2 under Kim Caldwell. And you look at Vanderbilt, top 5 team in the country. You've still got Michaela Blakes for 2 more years. You've got Aubrey Galvin for 3 more years. You're bringing in another 5-star next year in Olivia Jones. You're bringing in Jai Johnson, who's a top 50 recruit. Like, not only is Vanderbilt the better team right now, I think you can look and I know Tennessee has a 5-star coming in too, Olivia Edwards. But the momentum with Vanderbilt, I would say this is the easiest point I can give is if you gave me Vanderbilt women's basketball versus Tennessee women's basketball for the next 10 years, I know I'm probably biased. Give me Vanderbilt women's basketball.
Yeah, and again, what Shea Ralph has built there is fantastic for Vandy women's basketball. But what is the drop-off going to be like after Michaela Blakes is out of Vanderbilt?
See,
that's my question now, because then that would possibly make me lean towards Tennessee.
I think it just depends on what this group behind Michaela Blakes becomes. Aubrey Galvin might be the national freshman of the year this year.
Had a clutch shot, by the way, against
Kentucky.
Yeah.
And she made another couple of ridiculous plays in that game. She made like a spin move into the corner and hit a no-look fadeaway. And then just, I don't know if you saw this one. She read a pass from across the floor, just knew where it was going, ran in stride, caught it, no-look bounce pass to Michaela Blakes for a layup. Like, it is so much fun to watch her play. And we get 3 more years of that, 2 more years of Michaela Blakes. You get 4 years of Olivia Jones. You hope. Obviously, you got to retain your roster.
Sure.
And the momentum from this year, I can only imagine what that does for transfers, right? Like, again, I would think people want to play with Michaela Blakes and Aubrey Galvin. This is a team that's proven it can beat the elite teams in the country, beaten Texas, beaten LSU, beaten Michigan, beaten Oklahoma. So I agree with you that like the Tennessee women's basketball is never going to just bottom out, right? Like the history of that program, you're always going to get top coaching prospects, and there are always going to be players who want to come play for that program. But lately their ceiling's been the Sweet 16, I don't think Kim Caldwell gets them past that. And how long of a leash do you give Kim Caldwell becomes the question.
I'd say another year or two, however long the contract is, but I'd say another year or two, maybe. I mean, you got to give him a grace year to try to figure it out, but
I
maybe this
agree.
was the grace year. I don't know.
Well, they went to the Sweet
They
16 last
extended her
year.
last year,
Yeah,
too.
like she's not getting fired at the end of this year.
No, I'm not saying
But
that.
a lot of questions pop up after this year. With this year, you brought in more of your style of players that in her specific system, it's like this should work better, and it hasn't. And the post game presser saying my team quits on me, and there's a lot of questions there. Now, again, Tennessee is going to have options if they do move on from Kim Caldwell, and this is a long term question we're asking of over a decade. Would you buy stock in which athletic department? And maybe if they fire Kim Caldwell, they go get Kara Lawson, who's done great work at Duke, and she's a former Pat Summitt player. Like that would be a move that would possibly elevate them back towards the top. But I don't think what Shea Ralph and Vanderbilt doing, and again, I will bias.
Please.
I'm part of the program. Like I broadcast their games. I don't think this is a flash in the pan. Like I think this is going to be sustained success for this Vanderbilt program.
Yeah, you're well versed with women's basketball and college ideas, Jake. When it comes to Tennessee, when will they ever go away from the Pat Summitt DNA of hiring the next coach?
Well, Kim Caldwell wasn't a former Summit player, right? Like they went with Kelly Harper because she was a good coach who played for Pat Summitt.
Right, but you mentioned the Duke name, and I'm just thinking, when does that go away? Will it never go away?
There might be a time. I don't think it's soon. I think there is an idea of wanting to keep it in the family over there. And again, I don't know a ton. Like they could go completely off the wall and go hire somebody that no one's thinking of. But I do think that when they make changes with that program, it's usually
Calculated.
It's a certain type of prospect that they're looking for.
Okay. So I want to make sure it's not just orange goggles on the whole time and you're just thinking, all right, next person from that DNA bloodline, let's bring them in.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels
and
like.
Kim Caldwell was a different one. Like Kim
Right.
Caldwell was an up and comer who spent 1 year as a Division I head coach at Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a more out of the box hire for them, which is why I think if it fails, they would just go back to let's go get one of Pat's former players and see if we can make it work. So I'm going to go Vanderbilt point women's basketball there.
Okay. I'm with you on that.
Okay, so we're both 2-1 Vanderbilt at this point. We'll talk baseball and come to a final conclusion when we come back. 615-737-1025. Again, our question is, over the next 10 years, which athletic department are you buying stock in, Vanderbilt or Tennessee? Next man up, 1025, the game, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Wrapping up our conversation here, if you had to buy stock in Tennessee athletics or Vanderbilt athletics over the next 10 years, who would you pick? And we're going sport by sport among the four major sports here: football, men's basketball, women's basketball. We both agreed on everything so far. That football, I think it's close, but Tennessee right now. Men's basketball, close, but Vanderbilt. Women's basketball, we both picked Vanderbilt. Baseball, this is maybe the toughest one for me because I can see both sides of it. Tennessee, not only a couple years removed from a national championship. Vanderbilt was number 1 overall seed last year, so shown that they can still do it in this modern era. 2 national championships under Tim Corbin. But there's a lot of unknown for both programs, right? I don't think Tim Corbin is close to retirement, but we're talking about 10 years. I don't know. Like he's certainly getting up there in age, and it's like 10 years from now, is Tim Corbin still the head coach at Vanderbilt? I don't know. But Tennessee has almost just as much as uncertainty after Tony Vitello leaves. Like, Elander, I think, is going to be fine. I don't think they're going to, again, bottom out this program. I think Tennessee is going to be good. But does Elander have the ceiling of Tony Vitello? And I don't know. So there's a ton of unknown with both baseball programs. Both of them, I would say, are similar current levels. And I don't know what the trajectory is for either program.
I would lean Vanderbilt because of the winning pedigree they've had in the past. And I could see Tim Corbin coaching till he's 74. I know he's currently 64. I could see him coaching another 10 years. And again, it's the way he develops talent at the college level, like Sonny Gray, David Price, what's his name? Brian Reynolds. Plays for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Tony Kemp, who's I think now retired from baseball in general. But you have all these core players that you developed, and one of them being Dansby Swanson as well, another middle infielder. They've all gone to the next level. You know what you can do with Vanderbilt. I think that program is still on a upswing rather than you look at Tennessee, and again, the unknown after Vitello leaves. It's back to the football conversation with Vanderbilt and Tennessee when it comes a product of the NIL. Vanderbilt, a product of the NIL when it comes to football in a roundabout way.
Yeah, they've made the jump with the investment that's gone into NIL over the last couple of years.
And for Tennessee baseball, I think they fall in that category as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
They are the product of the NIL for baseball. And as for Vanderbilt, they don't have to be a product of the NIL because they have a coach that develops really good talent.
That's a good point. It's kind of the flip side. Tennessee, their football history goes further back.
Right.
But, Vanderbilt has been historically one of the best baseball programs in the country over the last 20 years. And Tennessee was not, but as they got the right coach in and the right investment, they were able to go win a national championship. And I know Vanderbilt football hasn't quite gotten there either, but it's a good comparison saying that Tennessee has been the up-and-comer, but they lost their coach. And that's where the uncertainty comes in of, man, is he going to be able to bring the juice and bring the same level of talent that Vitello was to this program?
And that's where the pocketbooks come into play. Is you got to spend more money than what you did before. Because if he doesn't have that buy-in like Vitello did, that's when you know, I'm not saying it's the wrong hire, but I'm just saying you got to spend a little bit more cash to make sure these players really want to play for you.
Let's go to the text line. We got a couple of thoughts overall. Again, the question is, if you had to buy stock in Vanderbilt athletics or Tennessee athletics over the next decade, what would you do? Matt says, big Vols fan here. So some of these pain me to say. He says, football, he would take Vandy. He says, even as a Vols fan, I love Clark Lee. Dude is legit and isn't going anywhere. Heupel has reached his ceiling. Basketball, he says, men's basketball, he says, surprisingly, Tennessee. I don't think Barnes is gone as quickly as most people do. And when he is, I trust Danny White to find his successor. Women's basketball, he says, Vandy. Tennessee, for some reason, has been snake bit with coaching hires, which is inexplicable to me. Baseball, he says, Tennessee. Corbin is a beast, but I like that Elander is taking over and continuing what Vitello did. So he's split 2-2. I think I'm 3-1 Vandy. I think football is the only one I go with Tennessee, but none of them are big gaps.
Right.
Like, I would say women's basketball right now is the biggest gap, but it's not huge because, again, Tennessee has the historical pedigree of Pat Summitt and the Lady Vols culture. So none of the gaps are big, but I think I would take Vanderbilt in men's and women's basketball and baseball, Tennessee in football.
I'm leaning the same direction. I think the biggest gap for me when it comes to picking between one of the men's sports would be men's basketball. I think Vanderbilt's above and beyond Tennessee men's basketball. And again, I know the result was a little different this past weekend.
Right, but we're not talking about right now. We're talking
Right.
about over the long haul.
Right. I think over the long haul, if Byington sticks around here on West End for Vanderbilt's sake, this program, I think, reaches new heights. I really do. I really do.
3766 says Vanderbilt is my adopted local team. I think this is New York Doug. Vanderbilt is my adopted local team, and it has been great to watch them flourish. If treated like a stock, would put $1 billion into Vanderbilt over Tennessee, but only on a 5-year horizon. Too hard to see beyond that because too much unforeseen could occur. And that's a good point. 10 years maybe is a little bit long. I was trying to just put out, like, over the long haul, which one do you think is trending in a better direction?
But I think 10 years is a good value point when it comes to baseball because, again, Corbin's 64.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility he goes till he's 74? I don't know. But again, you talk about sustained success. That's a program that's always having sustained success under Tim Corbin.
Yeah, 10 years, I think in a vacuum is the right way to view it because it's like you can look and say 10 years is how you know what a team has truly become.
Right.
Programs have good 5-year stretches, but a coach could leave, all that kind of stuff. But also we don't know what's going to happen with college sports in general. Like 10 years from now, college sports could look completely different, which could impact this whole conversation. But I think that the decision that we've come to is if you had to pick an athletic department right now over the next 5 to 10 years, I'd take Vanderbilt.
Amen. I would too.
Parker, you're our Tennessee guy. Where do you stand on this?
I think you're right about women's basketball. I don't want to talk about that too much. Football and men's basketball, I'm leaning Tennessee. Baseball, oh man, that is tough because
I think
the
that
sample
one's the
size
toughest
is
one for me.
so tiny for Josh Elander. Like they just
Right.
lost a weekend series to Kent State.
Yeah.
But you said Kent State was better than most people thought.
Kent
So
State's a tournament team.
I don't know. Tennessee plays number 1 UCLA on Friday, so we're really going to get a true test. I
Rock
do not have
Kowalski.
an answer. I don't know. I'm just going to go Vandy right now, Vandy baseball, just because I don't know much about the Elander era. So
overall, which athletic department are you taking?
Tennessee.
Okay.
Hmm.
I do think it's interesting though. Tennessee has and a lot of schools do this. Tennessee has claimed everything school. Maybe 2 years ago.
They ain't
Right
claiming it.
right now, it's been a tough comparatively.
Yeah.
I know. I don't want to get text. Tennessee softball program's number 1 in the country. I get it. Their softball team's very good.
Mhm.
But overall, Vanderbilt versus Tennessee this year, it's been Vandy.
You got to give extra kudos to Candace Story Lee. I mean, what she's done, man, is unreal. It's really unreal.
Again, we said it earlier in the hour. 2 years ago, I think if you told a Vandy fan, your biggest diehard Vandy fan, what Vanderbilt athletics would look like 2 years from now, that you've got a 10-win football team, a lock for a tournament team in men's basketball, a top 5 women's basketball team, and Tim Corbin is still rolling, I don't think anyone would have believed you.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I remember as a kid going to Vandy football games, parking at that Wendy's on the corner there next to the nice restaurant. And there would be 25 people there. You could probably count on, maybe one hand and where they are in one section. And now where they are today is just night and day difference.
Right.
Here's what I will say. I think Candace Story Lee has done a phenomenal job with Vandy athletics. Because 2 years ago, I don't think I ever would have been talking about what they're doing right now.
Uh-huh.
I just think there's a little prisoner of the moment going on because
That's
Tennessee
fair.
has had this and the last decade's been good, really, really good for the athletic department. So will Vandy be able to sustain it? We have to wait and see. But as of right now, the gap's certainly closed, but Tennessee still has, in my opinion, the edge.
That's a fair point that recency bias is part of this, right? Like right now, if you look at the state of the programs, Vanderbilt is in this sports calendar year is better. There can be a little prisoner of the moment going on there, but I think you also look at what Vanderbilt is doing and you can say, okay, there's the framework to sustain this. They have to do it before we can be for sure. But I agree with what Parker's saying there.
Yeah. If we had to pick athletic directors, I'm picking Candace Story Lee over Danny White.
Me too.
There you go.
I love Candace. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you have any thoughts on this conversation, we'd love to hear from you. We'll wrap up hour number 2 when we come back. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Wrapping up the second hour of the show. And we had a great conversation there about Vanderbilt versus Tennessee. And there were some good thoughts on the text line. It's going to be fun to watch these two athletic departments and see where the trajectories go over the next couple of years. Because, again, it's been tight and Vanderbilt's had a great year. This upcoming season, the 26-27 athletic year, I think is going to be a large data point in this conversation. Maybe we can circle back to it come this time next year. But Nick, before we wrap up hour number 2, I did want to talk to you about the World Baseball Classic. It's just a week away. And the Olympics are in the books. The U.S. gold medalists in ice hockey. Can the U.S. get it done in the World Baseball Classic too, and stamp themselves as the champions over the last 3 years in basketball, hockey, and baseball?
And let's say next summer or 2 summers from now,
Flag football.
I mean, they're your 4 core right there. So do they get it done? I think they do. This is a team that just has a date with destiny, just like this men's hockey team. And if you're as patriotic as everybody else in this world about American sports, you got to watch this. If you're not a baseball fan, Big Joe, you're going to want to watch American patriotic baseball.
Right. I know there are a lot of people out there who just aren't big baseball fans, and that's fine. But I think there are plenty of people out there who aren't big hockey fans. And I think this is similar. I know it's not the Olympics, but it's like you get to see a loaded U.S. team compete on the international stage. And I can't wait. Their first game is a week from Friday.
I believe so.
Against Brazil. And then play the UK on Saturday of next week. And news came out yesterday, and I feel bad. My boy Tarek Skubal, he says he's only going to pitch that one game against Great Britain, and then he's heading back to Tigers spring training.
What kind of an American baseball player are you to just say, I'm only going to pitch one game? You don't want to win the whole thing? I mean, as a Tigers fan for you, does that give you more optimism that he is more invested in MLB baseball for the Tigers? Or does it show you like, just come on, win it for America?
I think, yes, he's invested in the Tigers. He's said as much that he wants to win a World Series this year.
Right.
Tall task with the Dodgers being out there, but he has said that he wants to go win a World Series this year. I think most of this decision is he is invested in himself. He's got a $500 million payday waiting at the end of this season, and the one way to ruin that is to hurt himself. So I don't think he's going to throw unnecessary innings. He's going to use this Great Britain start next week as just to start a spring training start. He's going to pitch his 3 innings or whatever he would have pitched already for the Tigers that weekend, and then he's going to come back to camp.
You're just checking it off your grocery list. I don't like that. I'm telling you right now, Paul Skeens, a guy that was, I believe, played a little bit of the Air Force. Is that?
He did, yes.
That's a guy that wants to play for his country. No discredit to the Pittsburgh Pirates, but there is nothing to play for in Pittsburgh. You go play for the United States of America, guess what you're going to do? You're going to win a gold medal. That's what you're going to do. This is the World Baseball Classic.
I understand. And I wish we could see Tarek pitch more, because when you get to like the late rounds, like semifinals, championship, you want to have Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal out there pitching. Like, that's what makes this team special, is that you have the best 2 pitchers in the world on your team. But I do get it with Tarek Skubal of generational wealth is staring you in the face. The only thing that can hurt you is if you get hurt, right? Like, the only way you don't get probably a 10-year, $450 million contract is if he hurts himself this year. So I get it. You don't want to add any unnecessary strain, although I have seen the people saying the same thing you're saying of like, give his roster spot to somebody who actually wants to go out there and compete for his country.
Yeah, the one person I feel bad for in this entire situation, and he's hurt, and it's Corbin Carroll. They replaced him with Roman Anthony. Roman Anthony has not been great at all spring training for the Boston Red Sox, and I take whatever it is.
Early.
It is early, but you have a youngster coming off a pretty decent year for Boston. Look, if he's not in good form coming into the World Baseball Classic, he better be good against Brazil, United Kingdom, or Great Britain, and Italy, in Houston. He better be playing good in those games. If he isn't, then there's going to be a little bit of a gap when it comes to on the basis.
And I think the other team in their group outside of those 3 is Mexico.
I think so, yeah.
So that's, I mean, Mexico's the toughest team in that group. I would save Skeens for that game and let him go there. But I'm excited. I mean, international competition in all sports is fun, but I think I said it yesterday, hockey's the best. Like, there's nothing like international Olympic ice hockey. We saw that this weekend. It is the best. But I think baseball, the World Baseball Classic 4 years ago was so much fun. I mean, so much fun. Or was it 3 years ago?
I think it was 23, right?
Yeah, so three years ago was so much fun. You got the showdown of Shohei Ohtani versus Mike Trout in that championship game in Miami.
Yeah.
I am fired up for the World Baseball Classic, especially because spring training, there's reasons to watch. Like today, the Tigers play the Braves, actually, and Tigers' top 2 prospects are in the lineup. So I'll go home. I'll watch it. I want to see their at-bats. But other than that, I really don't have much interest in watching spring training. World Baseball Classic gives fans something to get you ready for the season to start. And I'm fired up for it. It starts next Wednesday, I believe. Australia and Japan in the first game.
In Tokyo, I believe. It's in the Tokyo.
Yeah, which I think it's cool. The World Baseball Classic, it's like it's not in just one place. It is the world. It's everywhere.
It'll be cool. I think again they're going to have the final game in Miami at Lone Depot Park as usual, because that just seems to be the epicenter for a lot of that.
Right, especially with the Caribbean teams. That's easy for them to get there.
Right. So it'll be fun. And again, to your point on spring training, I'm in the same boat. The Cardinals are in a rebuilding phase under Hein Bloom. So yeah, having one of the best, I guess, catcher prospects right now, Leonardo Bernal, I believe his last name is. Bernal. So that's a good thing. JJ Weatherholt, another middle infielder. Goodness gracious, words are all over the place today. But no, they have some good core pieces. I want to see what they can do with a guy like Siani and see what their pitching staff's about, because right now it's a little questionable.
It's almost baseball season. We've almost made it.
Can't wait.
And I know we don't talk a ton of baseball on the show, so every time Nick Frazier comes in, I look for ways to include baseball just for one segment so we can talk about it, because I love baseball season. I know it's going to get droned over once we get into free agency and the draft and all that kind of stuff, but it really is every day. And it's like you just get, for football, there is the appeal of it being once a week and you look forward to it, but being able to, go home from work and it's like, oh, what am I going to do tonight? Oh, my team's playing. I'm going to turn it on. It's great. I can't wait for baseball season.
I just love this roster that USA is
right. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's loaded. I want to look up the actual roster because I know like Skeens and Scooble are going to get the highlights at the top of the rotation.
Logan Webb.
They got Logan Webb. Yep.
Michael Walker, Clayton Kershaw, back into his career. He retired from Major League Baseball, so this is his.
That's cool.
Last
swan song.
Yeah. Clay Holmes.
Yeah,
pretty good.
You got Griffin Jacks from he's on the Rays now, formerly of the Twins. Mason Miller, Fireball.
Don't forget about Dave Bednar.
Yep. And then listen to like some of the lineup here: Bobby Witt Jr., Will Smith, Kyle Schwarber, Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Bryce Harper, Pete Crow Armstrong, Alex Bregman, Byron Buck. Like, this is a loaded team. Loaded.
And to be fair, looking at this middle infield, if you're a Nashville Sounds fan, guess what?
I was about to say
Bryce Terang.
Of
all people. And he's played pretty good for Milwaukee.
Yeah, there you go. Former Sound Bryce Terang. Are there any other former Sounds on here? I don't think so.
Not that I could recall. Some that have come through Nashville playing against opposing teams.
Right, of course. But yes, I don't see anybody who made their way through Nashville specifically other than Bryce Terang. But that's still cool. You get to see him. And so I'm fired up. We're just over a week away from the World Baseball Classic. And once that wraps up, we will be right around the corner from opening day.
Yeah. Kyle Schwarber, bring us all the home runs you can hit, man. I'm ready for it.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will go back into football when we return. Franchise tags coming down. Who is going to be available when free agency actually opens in 2 weeks? And also, in the final hour, the uniform teaser has now officially been dropped on social media. The Titans put it on billboards yesterday. It was on X this morning. It looks like we are getting the full reveal coming up in just over 2 weeks. So we'll talk about that as well. 615-737-1025. Final hour of the show coming up here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game final hour on your Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Been a fun show so far. Back into the Titans here in hour number 3. Free agency is coming up quick. 2 weeks from yesterday is the quote-unquote legal tampering period. And so we will start to see what the Titans might end up doing when free agency opens. But the options are already starting to dwindle. Teams have another week to put franchise tags on their impending free agents. Up until March 3rd is the last day that they can do so. George Pickens, it was officially announced. Stephen Jones said yesterday that, yes, they want George Pickens back. They will use the franchise tag on him. So George Pickens is off the board. Kyle Pitts also is going to be getting the franchise tag from the Atlanta Falcons. I saw a funny stat yesterday that Matt Ryan, his final year as the Falcons quarterback, is Kyle Pitts' only 1,000-yard season. And his first move as the new president of football operations in Atlanta is to franchise tag Kyle Pitts. So there you go. Those are
Smart.
2 off the board already. I don't know how aggressive the Titans would have been for Kyle Pitts, but you're starting to see the names you see at the beginning of free agency, the beginning of the offseason. You're like, oh, all these guys are going to be out there. Maybe not so much. It looks like maybe Breece Hall is going to get a transition tag. Kenneth Walker, I don't know. Maybe not going to get tagged, but the rumors are they want to extend him. Alec Pierce, the Colts have said they don't want to let him get to free agency. So a lot of the big names that we've been discussing for the better part of the last month for the Titans, maybe none of them are out there when free agency opens up in a couple of weeks.
I'd be okay with a guy like Christian Kirk, guy coming from Houston. That's
On a short-term deal?
Yeah, it's a clouded wide receiver room in Houston. You have Tank Dell coming back from injury, who looks pretty good, by the way, from the videos that have surfaced online. You have Nico Collins. You have Jaden Higgins. I think Dalton Schultz is still there at the tight end position. You have a lot of young players, and that Stover kid from Ohio State, the backup tight end.
Yeah, Cade Stover, yeah.
So you got some pieces offensively that you can surround around. And then you have Christian Kirk, who's kind of the odd man out. So if they don't end up bringing him back, I think that'd be a viable option for the Titans, because he's roughly $4 to $5 million for a market value. So I think that might be in the cards for the Titans.
Wide receiver is the name that we're going to look at. And Christian Kirk is one of those names up there that I think cheap deal. I wouldn't be against it. But as more options come off the board, I think the price tag starts to go up. The saying is, it's not who's best, it's who's next.
Mm-hmm.
And if Pickens is not a free agent, if Alec Pierce is not a free agent, I think that raises the prices for guys like Wan'Dale Robinson and Jawan Jennings and Romeo Doubs. They're going to be out there on the open market. Lots of teams need wide receivers, and you may have to pay a pretty penny to get these guys, which again takes me back to the conversation of don't cut Calvin Ridley unless you're sure that you can get somebody that you feel is going to be more productive than Calvin Ridley this year in free agency.
See, it's just, I want to disagree with you, because it just doesn't. I don't see a position where they can keep a guy like Calvin Ridley on this roster. I get the whole question was asked to Brian Dable last week about, hey, what do you think about possibly working with Ridley? And he goes and nickname, yeah, Rid, great, yada, yada, yada. But he said he wasn't going to make any roster, decisions on that press conference, which is understandable. I didn't get the feeling or notion that he's going to lean towards keeping a guy like Calvin Ridley, just from what he said. I didn't get that feeling. I don't see. I mean, I could see how he could help out Cam Ward, but again, last season when the Titans needed him most in that Denver game, it was drops galore, and that's my biggest fear when it comes to a guy like Calvin Ridley. Is you're going to continue to have these drops? What's the deal here? You just come to Nashville to collect a check and go? Because if that's the case, good riddance.
Calvin Ridley is not by any means a long-term solution at wide receiver. If he stays, it's for one more year. But I think Mike Borgonzi has to look at it and say, are any of these guys that actually hit free agency a long-term solution at wide receiver? Like, do you think 3 years down the road, Jawan Jennings is still going to be a starting level wide receiver for your team? Do you think Romeo Dobbs could be? I think it's possible. Wan'Dale Robinson is possible. But unless you see a guy who it's like, yeah, we plug him in, we sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal, and that's an upgrade from Calvin Ridley, and he's going to give us a longer runway with Cam Ward. It's possible. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but that's what Mike Borgonzi needs to evaluate is, does he think he can go get somebody on the open market who is a long-term solution that is going to be an upgrade over Calvin Ridley? Because if not, I'm fine holding on to Ridley for one more year and then let him go next year. You reevaluate. Maybe there's a better option in free agency next year. Maybe you have a draft pick who develops and wide receiver isn't as big of a need as it was this season. Ridley could be the Band-Aid option that you need if there isn't a long-term guy that you feel is valuable on the open market this year.
Yeah, and to that point too, you wonder if they can somehow maybe restructure his deal. But if they cut him, it's like what, 11, $12 million, right? Somewhere around that number, somewhere around that
If
figure.
they cut him, yeah, his cap hit is 23.
Okay.
You'd have 12 million in dead cap.
Okay.
So you'd save about 11.
Okay. So that's where I'm kind of leaning at. Because if you have $11 million to wiggle around with, say you itemize your money in that aspect of wide receivers, $11 million on the free agent market, maybe you go after a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who's going to be a little bit more than 11 million. You're going to spend a little bit more than that, which is fine. But if you just try to just put the Band-Aid on your wide receiver room with a guy like Christian Kirk that I'm a fan of, because again, it comes back to that Jacoby Brissett, conversation we had about the quarterbacks. He is a product of the system. Christian Kirk's the same situation with the wide receivers in the NFL. He is a product of the system. He can get you those consistent yards. I know I hear Big Joe all the time preach about Jawan Jennings. If you need 8 yards, he'll get you 8.5. I think Christian Kirk's that same product where he can get you 8.5 yards if you need it.
And I could see them going after a one-year guy like that. But I think you also maybe do it one of the trades we talked about last week. Like, go get Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette. And it might not cost you a ton, but that's another young guy with potential you're bringing in. And then you go get a veteran in free agency, whether that is Christian Kirk or Kendrick Bourne or Tim Patrick. Like some of these guys who it's like, hey, we're going to bring you in. You're going to be a body. You're going to play some snaps for us. You're a one-year deal. And then we'll move on and hopefully be able to upgrade from you. I could see that. But unless you think Wan'Dale Robinson or Romeo Dobbs, if you look at them and say like, hey, that's a guy that for the next 3 years is going to be our number 2 wide receiver, I might be okay with keeping Ridley for another year. Because you look at the money, it costs you $23 million to keep Calvin Ridley.
Right.
To cut him and go sign Wan'Dale Robinson, who let's say gets 18, is going to cost you $30 million because you take that $12 million in dead cap and you transfer it over. So those are the decisions Mike Borgonzi needs to make. I don't think there's a right call here, but he has to be able to look at the wide receiver room and see what Cam Ward needs the most. Is that a trade? Is that free agency? Is it just keeping Calvin Ridley? I don't know.
It's two things. The first one thing I just think about is Robert Saleh saying he wants his team to be fast and violent. And if you want an offensive powerhouse wide receiver to be fast and violent, I don't think Calvin Ridley is that answer. And if you go into the, I guess, offseason right now and you go try to find a wide receiver that can do that, you wonder how much of the Wan'Dale Robinson comes into this factor and how much does that play into a guy like Brian Daboll's system.
That's a good point. It's a good point. And
younger, faster legs, more than likely will be violent when catching the football and running down the field. That's just something to put into a factor.
Titans have decisions to make in the wide receiver room coming up maybe this week. I mean, I said it on Friday. I thought L'Jarius Sneed wouldn't be a Titan by Monday. He's still there for now. I would guess that doesn't last too much longer. But we should have clarity on Calvin Ridley by free agency at the very least. I would say within the next week, we should know whether the Titans are keeping or moving on from Calvin Ridley. 615-737-1025. We'll get to some of your texts on this coming up next. Also, some news on the Tua Tagovailoa front from the Combine. We can talk about that a little bit as well. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, with you on your Tuesday morning. Free agency is just around the corner, and the Titans have the most cap space in the NFL. How much will they use? How will they use it is becoming the question, especially at the wide receiver position, where it's unlikely George Pickens, George Pickens not going to make it to free agency. Unlikely Alec Pierce makes it to free agency, which wanes down the options for the Titans. And I mentioned, we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, that Calvin Ridley is a possibility to stick around. And there are some people not happy about that on the text line. Keegan on the text line says, look, I get it. Cam needs as many NFL wide receivers around him as possible. With that being said, I'd rather go dig a body up, throw a blue jersey on him, and pay him $1 million if it meant we could get Ridley out of here ASAP. So Keegan not on board with keeping Calvin Ridley. Gunner says, if Wan'Dale Robinson comes in, man, it'd make me want to keep Levis just in case. Levis played his best ball with him. I guess that's a connection that you could point to.
And I'd be okay with having a guy like Will Levis as a backup quarterback. I know that sounds a little weird, but again, with the whole situation, it would feel like you walk into the building and you just have all these eyeballs looking at you like, I don't know if I'm really welcome here or not.
He has been back in Nashville. I saw a picture over the weekend of him in Printer's Alley with somebody.
With that drummer.
Yeah. So he was back in Nashville. He shaved the mustache too. So
maybe his antics are over with. Maybe he's like, you know what? It's time to be an adult. It's time to be a professional athlete. Let me dial in here.
I don't know. I think he's getting traded still, but being back in Nashville is at least a sign that maybe he's there are conversations going on. I don't know. Justin from Greenbrier on the text line says, I would rather the Titans not have a true number one wide receiver this season if it comes down to overpaying a number two more money just because they are there. And that's the point I'm making is, unless you feel like Dobbs and Robinson or Jennings or these guys out there are going to be consistent playmakers for you, there's no need to pay them the $80 to $100 million total that they're going to command on the market. I would rather draft somebody this year, go get a one-year veteran guy who can add to the room, and then you continue to see if there's anybody out there that makes sense. Or a trade. We talked about Leggett or Keon Coleman. I would much rather trade for one of those guys as a buy low, sell high kind of guy of like, hey, they haven't panned out in their first spot. Maybe we can get the most out of them rather than pay Romeo Dobbs $85 million. I could see them doing it, but if they do it, I think you've got to be pretty confident that they're going to be a playmaker for you, not just this year, but for the long haul.
Yeah. And to the point about, potentially, getting rid of Calvin Ridley, I'm sticking on this Christian Kirk train here because if you say go 1 year or maybe just go 2 years, 8.5 AAV, I mean, that's not a bad little get.
Right. If it's cheap and a short-term deal, I'm fine with bringing in a veteran who maybe isn't the sexy pick, but it's a guy who can be your wide receiver 3. You draft somebody. As we've said with a lot of players on this roster, what the Titans do in free agency is going to tell us a lot about the young guys.
Mm-hmm.
How much do they believe in Alec Iamaner and Chim Dike? I think what they do in free agency and how much they invest in the wide receiver position shows us what they believe those two guys are going to be able to become.
That's why when I hear the conversations of Alec Pierce, oh, hey, he can take the top off of defense. You already got that right now. I get Chim Dike as your punt and kick returner. You don't want to get him hurt in some form or fashion offensively. But if you're trying to take the top off the defense, he can go run you a vert real quick, and he can open up a little bit of that room. I mean, that's where I'm at on that. Again, you could go grab another wide receiver like Alec Pierce, who's not going to hit the market from what it sounds like, that can do that. Why not just bring another guy in minus that and then call it a day? Because, again, you get rid of the baggage of a Calvin Ridley. You save yourself roughly $12 million. You use about 5 or 6 of that on a veteran wide receiver. You're still keeping some of that money. That's where all I'm looking at. And again, you bring in a wide receiver from the free agent market, might be wide receiver 3, may lean towards a wide receiver 2. That's just how it goes. Because if you're talking about a guy that takes the top off of defense, air quotes, to me, that's a wide receiver 3.
Really?
Yeah, because to me, that's a one-trick pony.
I think
I don't think Chim Dike is a one-trick pony.
Like Khalif Raymond.
Right.
Like that's kind of your one-trick just a deep threat wide receiver.
Is a free agent, by the way.
Maybe you bring him back. Bring back Khalif. I wouldn't hate it. Mo on the text line brings up Michael Pittman because the Colts might have some tough decisions to make. If you bring back Alec Pierce, it's going to cost you, whether that's on the franchise tag or on an extension. Michael Pittman, you can get out of his contract this year. That would be another, maybe a guy looking for a prove it type of deal. Just, hey, I got cut. I'm not a free agent. I'll go do a 1-year, $12 million deal with the Titans, see if I can raise my stock and then hit the market next year. I would be for a Michael Pittman deal at the right price for the Titans.
Yeah, I think right price would be the key thing there because the guy has had injuries. He's had some injury-riddled history. I'm not a fan of a injury-riddled wide receiver. I don't think a lot of Titans fans are either. We all seen what happened with a guy like Julio Jones. Again, these are all veteran wide receivers that have seen past their prime. But you bring in guys like Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins, Randy Moss at the time. Like they go into the Hall of Fame of really good wide receivers in their prime.
The Tennessee Titans wide receiver retirement home.
Exactly. I'm not saying Pittman
wouldn't be in that group.
No, but it's the injuries that bother me with bringing a guy like that to Tennessee.
That's a good point. And again, there are so many ways the Titans can attack this wide receiver position. When we simulated the offseason a couple of weeks ago, we felt like we could have done more at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Borgonzi, I'm interested to see what his plan is for that position because it is such a crucial thing to get it right for your young quarterback. What is he going to be able to do is the big question. And next week, I believe the plan is we're going to all three do separate simulations and bring them in and compare.
I've already got a few.
Oh, you've got one ready?
Yeah.
All right. I think
the day after we did that little simulation, I did 2 of them. I was like, one of them, I'm sticking with.
I feel like when we did it 2 weeks ago, we said, is it March 3rd next week? Yeah, March 3rd is when we're going to do we're all going to do separate ones, and we're going to see which one's better when we bring it in here. So we'll do that coming up next week.
To give it a little tease, because, it had that Peter Skoronski situation
where
you couldn't pay him the X amount of money.
Right.
It left me with $22.4 million left over from whatever I did in the full offseason.
Yeah.
That 22.4 is going directly towards Skoronski.
Okay.
So just FYI, that's a little tease for what I got going there.
It was funny. It was like, you can extend Peter Skoronski, but he's only getting $1.5 million.
Yeah.
No more.
I don't understand that, but that's like a Madden glitch is what it seems like. And also with, before we move on real quick, the whole Michael Pittman idea.
Yeah.
When you talk about a bad back, Caleb Farley, this is a guy that has had a back fracture. So it goes to that Tim Hasselbeck saying, you ever know a guy to have a bad back?
Right. Who had a bad back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
you just have one.
Yeah. Not going to go with that.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chad in Hendersonville has called in. Chad, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. When I look at this build, I almost look as you're putting together, a puzzle, really large puzzle, maybe a 52-piece puzzle. The size of your pieces are all not going to be the same. In fact, obviously your quarterback's going to probably be 3 times the size of 3/4 size of the puzzle. That's how big that is. And then my next biggest piece of puzzle is probably my left tackle to obviously protect my biggest piece. And then you've got rush defensive end. When you think about wide receivers and running backs, I'm not investing in these guys in free agency. You go and look at the combine, and over the years, you've got so many players, and I could name drop 20 players that are wide receivers that have gone day 3 or later that have been impact players, and the same thing with running backs. So that's where where you're paying your money is your scouting department. That's where they have to win. You don't need your free agency to win in that situation. You need your scouting department to win with these kind of skill players. Yeah, if you can get a money player, a difference maker, then you go up there and you take a shot at one of these guys. But I'm investing I'm making sure if I'm building a team, number one, I feel good about my quarterback they're all in. Of course, Titans are all in with Cam, but who's protecting him? That's where you start. Your left tackle. And if you've got all this money in free agency, don't start putting this puzzle together without the biggest piece. You protect him. That's where that starts. And then these playmakers and all that stuff, I'm looking at the draft. So your thoughts, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Chad. I agree. Wide receiver, I would rather be a draft, develop, retain team in that spot. Like you don't usually find difference maker wide receivers on the free agent market.
Right.
So I get what he's saying. What's more important about the Titans at wide receiver this offseason is, do you take one in the second round, third round, and what can they do for Cam Ward? When it comes to protecting Cam Ward, they did spend the money at left tackle last offseason. I know people may not love Dan Moore, but that's exactly what they did. Their one big free agent signing for last year was to go pay $20 million a year for a left tackle for Cam Ward. So he's going to be back this year, Dan Moore. Maybe they're able to draft a guy this year, next year, who's his successor. But right now, Dan Moore is your left tackle.
Yeah. And I say that in not a positive way.
Mandor.
Yeah. I'm nervous about that position because, again, that's the backside of Cam Ward. You're going to get him destroyed if you don't block for him. And if they can't find a solution for that this season, they're going to be right back where they're picking right now.
It got better throughout the year last year.
It did.
We'll see what year two, and playing next to Peter Skoronski again, and you got Carmen Brasillo in here. Maybe it gets better, but you're right. It's not ideal, but it's something. And right now, I think you're leaving Dan Moore in there as your left tackle. They're not moving on from him this offseason.
Too much money invested in him.
Quickly, Cam Wolf from the NFL Combine. We heard from Cam Wolf yesterday talking about Cam Ward's injury and his timeline coming back. Cameron Wolf, Dolphins GM, John Eric Sullivan on Tua Tagovailoa's status. Everything is on the table, including the possibility of a trade. Ian Rappaport retweeted this, and then Jonathan Jones of CBS, who we've referenced a couple of times throughout this offseason, especially as part of the Titans coaching search, said, where is it? Here we go. The Dolphins would love for someone to give them draft compensation and take part of Tagovailoa's contract. That's an extremely unlikely scenario. I would love for somebody to give me a first-round pick for Will Levis, but that's not going to happen either. No one is going to give you draft capital to take Tua. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Not happening. And look, I know you brought up last week, the week before, if Titans were somehow trade for Tua to be the backup.
To buy a draft pick.
That'd be to buy a draft pick. And if that is the case, you'd have to get rid of Will Levis before you can grab Tua, because nobody would trade for Will Levis at that point, right?
And they might.
Maybe.
But you'd lose your leverage, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. The leverage would be gone.
Yeah. I don't think it's likely. Again, I said this last week. I thought it was just a fun scenario to bring up. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, yeah.
But it seems like the Dolphins are at least considering trading him. You're not getting draft capital back. Maybe you get a swap back, but you're giving up more in that trade than the team that's taking on Tua would be.
Yeah, because that's what, $54 million? Is that right?
Yeah, and I guess it might depend. Maybe they split the contract up differently, and the Dolphins will eat some of it to make the draft pick not as bad. But still, it's
think of it this way: if you were to eat a little bit around 54, so cut that in half, that's what, 20?
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins are going to have to eat some of it if they trade him anyway, but maybe they make it a little bit more and say, you know what, we don't have to give up a premium draft pick, and we're not losing the $99 million we would lose if we cut him.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's almost the same as bringing a guy like Malik Willis to be your quarterback. $30 million, if that's what he gets.
Dolphins are in a tough spot.
There's just too much money on the table here.
Maybe John Robinson can save them.
He might. And you know what? That might catapult him into a GM position. Maybe somewhere in New England. I don't know.
Well, he's got Ryan Cowden as yes man up there now. So.
I know. Maybe they just take it on together. Maybe that's the case. Maybe you just string the chords back on this guitar and say, Derrick Henry, you're done after next season.
Yeah,
right?
Go to the Patriots. AJ Brown.
I think you could trade him to the Patriots.
Yeah, why not?
Sirianni's mentioned it at the combine that we're open to probably getting rid of the guy.
We're getting the band back together.
Hey, wouldn't it be something?
615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to chime in, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. There was a little bit more news about the Titans uniforms this morning. Yesterday, there were billboards on West End showing a light blue apparel texture. I don't want to say jersey or pants. There's a big conversation going on Titans Twitter over whether it's jersey or pants, with navy blue tri-stars on there. The Titans tweeted it out this morning. And it is now confirmed there is at least some sort of reveal coming March 12th. We will talk about it coming up next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Couple more segments on your Tuesday morning. And let's talk jerseys. Titans rebrand has been getting lots of steam over the last couple of weeks. Of course, there was plush football gate when Fanatics leaked the football with the logo on it that people hadn't seen before. The flame's not there. It's in Oilers colors. Everybody freaks out. Are they getting rid of the navy, the two-tone blue? Well, the Titans have sent us all back into a spiral, not knowing what's going on. billboards on West End. And I saw these with my own eyes yesterday, actually, after all of the pictures that were floating around Titans Twitter yesterday. It is the Titans blue, Columbia blue fabric. There's a seam down the side, and there are 3 navy blue stars. And the date says March 12th, 2026. So that is 2 weeks from Thursday. I would guess that's when the Titans are going to reveal this new rebrand. But all of us are in a little bit of a tizzy here because the thought was they're getting rid of the Navy. Guess what? There it is, prominent on this tease that they're using. So the Titans have done a nice job, I think. Right when we think we know what's going on, they've thrown a little wrench into everything here with 2 weeks to go till the reveal.
Looking at it, Jake, trying to dissect where this TriStar is on the jersey, it looks like a sleeve, but then I see where the seam is, and it looks like that's where the jersey connects to the sleeve. So I'm not too sure.
There's lots of conversations I've been seeing on Titans Twitter of, are these pants? Is this the side of a jersey? Like, no one seems to know what's going on, which is probably exactly what the Titans want right now.
This is my final answer when it comes to trying to guess what this looks like. I think it's the front of the jersey right here. The TriStar is going to be on the front shoulder, like near the front part of your arm. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of it being like a chest patch, it'll be on the like shoulder part of it. That might be a little too far-fetched.
I'm going to go pants. I think it's the britches, as Jim Wyatt would say. I showed you, there was a mock-up that somebody made that kind of married the logo that we saw from Fanatics and this mock-up, and I think that's probably what this is going to be. So I was under the impression that red was going to be more featured. Seeing this makes me think not so much. I think it's going to be, as we saw this past year, the light blue tops are going to be the home jerseys with white pants. Then you're going to have the roads, which are the white, you flip-flop it. And seeing this, I think the alternates might be navy now, but with maybe more red featured here and there, maybe a little bit more accent of the light blue.
Yeah.
And then the rivalry uniforms maybe are your red ones.
Or the rivalry jerseys that we talked about, the all black. How about it being all black, but with Columbia blue numbers?
So I saw something the other day, and I think it was from the same guy, Zach Cohen, who's been doing a lot of the research into the Titans' new uniforms. And it said that you are actually not allowed to make black uniforms unless black is already part of one of your uniforms or it's part of like your primary color scheme.
What if it's a very dark navy? You know, I mean, it could be the darkest navy possible with the Columbia blue accent.
So I don't know if they can do I don't know if they can do black, but they could do dark navy blue, that like a midnight blue kind of thing. The Titans have made me flip everything because I thought it was going to be basically Oilers throwbacks with a T on it. Like, I thought that was what the new jersey was going to be. I know this is a very vague teaser of just a close-up of 3 Navy stars on the light blue jersey, pant, whatever it is. But I can't imagine it's going to be Oiler looking with Navy accents on it. So this is very interesting from the Titans. They've done a really nice job with this.
Yeah, they have. I can't figure out where this is at. I thought it'd be on the arm, and you make a good point too, Jake, because if you remember the Titans pants when they were light blue like that, they had 2 different fabrics. On the like hip side of it, there was a different fabric.
Yeah.
And then on the padding side of it, there was another different fabric. So the seam does match up with what you're saying there.
We are locked in on what these uniforms are going to look like. And I guess we don't have to wait too long. It's very rare to get a uniform reveal this early.
Yeah.
This is the second day of official free agency. So maybe they want these ready for when the new free agents are announced. Maybe this is just leading to another teaser. Like, this is your first teaser. We get a video teaser on March 12th, and then they do the full reveal in April.
Or they caught wind of somebody maybe about to leak the uniform and said, all right,
we got to push the timeline up.
Because I did say it was going to happen a week before the draft or 2 weeks before the draft. and it doesn't seem like it'd be 2 weeks before the draft anymore.
Well, so they did the Broadway reveal of the 2018 uniforms, the current Titans uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the March 12th announcement is announcing that. Because it does seem early, right? March 12th to do a full uniform reveal for a rebrand. It feels early. There could be reasons for that. Like maybe some of the details have to go up in the Titans' new stadium and people are going to start seeing those. And it's like, you can't hide it for much longer. Maybe they want to have the free agents holding up the new jerseys when they're introduced. But also it could be that. It could just be this is a teaser for another teaser. I don't know. The Titans, they've done it. They've done a good job of keeping us on our toes here.
They have the best opportunity to do the funniest thing in NFL history, and that's go to your local sporting goods store, get a blank white jersey with their name on the back and their number, and in plain block letters and numbers, and just have their name and number and just hang it up like this to be the most average Joe thing possible.
That'd be funny.
It would be great. I think it would bring great, entertainment online. People would be like, the Titans are my new favorite team. So if you go with that Tennessee Titans, you know where you got
credit Dr. Crane.
Yeah. Put that with like a couple zeros behind the check.
Yeah, there you go.
Royalties.
You go. Yeah, you're trademarking this right now. Justin from Greenbrier says, I pray for the Titans to be much better this season so that a uniform isn't the top conversation going into next offseason. Yeah, it's true. If the Titans were a winning team, I think we'd care a lot less about what the uniforms look like.
Yeah.
So,
hey, look good, play good.
Yeah, that's true. Keegan Parker, this one's for you. Keegan says, I know it's not TD Thursday, but can we please give Parker a shout out? The intro music has been top tier all show. So there you go, Parker. Well done.
I try, and I will try to close out the show with a banger.
There we go. We got one more segment today. We will wrap up the show on the other side. Get us your thoughts on our phone and text line, 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. There you go, Parker. Well done. Finishing the show on a strong note. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe coming up right after us at the top of the hour. Tomorrow on the show, Corey Curtis is at the Combine, so we will not have Corey for the full show. As of now, he is planning to join for half of the show. So we're going to do our best to accommodate Corey's Combine schedule, but the plan is to have Corey starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So that's the plan. Corey's still going to make his appearance live from Indianapolis, working with his schedule. And, of course, TD's on Thursday as well. So exciting times up at the Combine. And Robert Saleh is, in fact, speaking at the Combine right now. I thought it was scheduled for noon, but we're getting some tweets from some reporters who are up there, including Teron Davenport. Here are a couple of highlights from what we've seen so far. TD tweets that Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll have been in touch with Cam Ward's personal quarterback coach. They said the footwork will be the focus. Goal is getting it in sync with the specific offense they want to run. TD also tweets that mental capacity, football IQ, and recall are three of the things Robert Saleh said they'll focus on in their Combine interviews, going to put college tape on and see how the prospects can remember the play call and what happened. That's interesting. I think that's what a lot of teams like to do, but that's something that I didn't really think was high value in these interviews. I thought a lot of it was more getting to know the person. And of course, there's for quarterbacks and stuff, there's film stuff, but getting to know these guys of like, hey, what were you asked to do on this play and how did you accomplish it? I think that is important.
I think so too, because if they understand and they comprehend it at a quick pace, that goes to show you that they're day one starters in a roundabout way. You can plug them in if you need them to be in an immediate time. If someone's hurt, you're going in. Rookie, I don't care. You're going in. I think that's the mentality this I guess you could say franchise and coaching staff is taking, is wanting to get that immediate success out of these young players.
Yes, and I think that's important is these interviews. He also says, this is from Easton Freeze, character is the biggest thing Robert Saleh is here at the Combine to investigate, looking for those who are being real and who are being fake. The quote is, hard to kill yourself in one of these, but I've seen it in terms of the interview. So I guess that is an important part of it too, is like, is this guy being genuine? Are these canned answers that he's giving to every single team? They want to know what this guy's true personality is and how it's going to mesh with the rest of the team.
Yeah. And again, you wonder if it's more on the, personality of the coach, or if it's more on the personality of how will he gel with a Cam Ward?
Yeah.
You try to figure out, is it all a collective or is it just like a pick this person out of here, there? It's interesting. It's, again, the Combine. It's the best way to put it. It's interviews for the people. I mean, it's simple as that. They're
and
job interviews.
We had the conversation yesterday about the Rams and Jaguars not sending their head coach and GM and not wanting to do these interviews because they feel like it can tint the way they view the prospects. It's like, we know what this guy does on tape. We don't want a 15-minute interview changing the way we think about this guy. But I do think all of these touch points, as is always the term that gets used, are important with these guys to get to know who they are as a person and get to know beyond what you see on film.
Yeah, because let's look at in the past for the Titans, Isaiah Wilson. I mean, was somebody lying to them? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because it didn't turn out the way
you didn't get the touch points during COVID.
Right. And again, yeah, at the time it's COVID, so it's all different. But, there's something to be said about an in-person interview and an in-person conversation. That guy may be cool or may look great on the other side of the screen, but when you become in the same room as them, you can feel there's a different presence. If I'm in an interview process with you, Jake, and we're, I don't know, let's say you're Robert Saleh and I'm some form of a draftee, right?
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, I can feel there's a little tension in this room because you want a lot out of me. And so I got to show that. And that's simple is what these guys are trying to do. They're trying to show that they can be a part of an NFL roster.
Couple of interesting tweets from Paul Kaharski as Robert Saleh, again, is speaking to the media up there in Indianapolis at the Combine. One, talking about what we're just talking about, he says, every minute is crucial when trying to evaluate these guys. He cites eye contact and the feel of a hug. I mean, I think that's a little bit in depth, but like, I get it.
He's spot on.
You agree with that? That like
he is
the
spot
feel of
on.
a hug, it's like, guys, take him off the board.
No,
he didn't dap me up correctly.
You want to know the honest God truth about a hug? if you give somebody a hug, you can tell if it's genuine or not, because if it's a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi pull away, it's a different type of hug. You do a 1 Mississippi hug, yeah, no, that ain't cutting it.
We are full on in the weeds here.
I know how hugs work.
I mean,
all right?
Robert Saleh saying it. This isn't us making this up. Robert Saleh says the eye contact and the feel of a hug are important when he's interviewing these players.
Now, eye contact, Jake, I'll say right now, the lazy eye problem with people, you just got to put that out there. I have a lazy eye, so I tell it to people sometimes up front. So if Robert Saleh's doing the eye contact thing, hopefully they recognize
Maybe that was Shedeur Sanders' problem last year.
Maybe.
Here's the last tweet I want to get to about this. Again, Robert Saleh speaking to the media up there in Indianapolis. You're going to love this one. Robert Saleh. This is from Paul Kaharski. Short tweet. Robert Saleh. Bain's tape is undeniable.
Yes. Thank you. Love hearing that.
I think it is going to be streaming, or at least they'll be able to watch this later. I'm excited to hear what the question was on that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like, are they asking about the arm length? Because right, that's a big question. Is, do you think the arm length negates some of the production and the tape that you have on him? Like, does that take away from him? To answer back that his tape is undeniable, I think shows you that there's a legitimate interest there from the Titans and Ruben Bain.
Yeah, I'm smiling ear to ear right now, Jake, hearing that. That's fantastic news.
I mean, the Titans players are all putting it out there that they want Ruben Bain. Jeffrey Simmons said that.
Yeah.
Cam Ward this week, I guess he was at a trading card event. I don't know if he was at a trading card event, and he pulled a Ruben Bain and showed it to somebody and goes, "That's our first round pick this year."
They've been listening to the show.
Again, maybe.
Yeah, we're all in on Ruben Bain.
Maybe that's a smokescreen. You know, when somebody's, we've seen this in previous drafts, you're all in on a guy, and even they're all publicly saying it. I wonder if they have something else in the cards.
Yeah, it is lying season. Kind of all of the NFL season is lying season, but it's like it is that time of year where everybody says one thing, and you don't know until they turn the card in on April the 23rd whether they're actually telling the truth. So it's going to be a fun draft process, especially like last year. You knew it was Cam Ward, maybe not at this point, but by free agency, you knew it was going to be Cam Ward.
Right.
This year, I don't know, because the Jets and the Cardinals, they're probably not taking quarterback. They could. They're probably not. You're not going to have any idea until the Titans are on the clock who it might be, but they're picking high enough that you can have these conversations back and forth on all these prospects. It's going to be a fun draft process. We got 2 months to go.
Can they get here any sooner? Like, can we just get to the little chime? Can we get to Roger Goodell saying the fourth pick of the NFL draft, Tennessee Titans select?
Well, it'd be really nice if the team was good enough that we didn't care as much about the draft.
That's
but
fair.
This is a hugely important pick.
I mean, look at the Green Bay Packers. They picked a wide receiver for the first time in a long time. And that's why they're kind of moving on from Romeo Doubs, because they want Matthew Golden to be that, shining star. They want him to be wide receiver one. So for the Titans, yeah, this is a draft to be excited about.
Yeah. We've talked about this being a turning point off season. Robert Saleh coming in. You've got $100 million in cap space. You got high draft picks. Can you utilize them in the right way? And I think the draft pick may be the largest factor of all of it. If you can hit on a premier pass rusher at number 4, that changes the makeup of your team for the next 5 to 10 years.
Let Borgonzi bake, baby. Let him bake.
Borgonzi bake. And
it's in the oven.
Borgonzi speaking tomorrow at the Combine, I believe shortly after noon. But again, based on this, we don't really know when they're going to be popping up there. 2765 on the text line says, is he speaking now? The press conference says he isn't speaking till noon. I'm seeing tweets of quotes from Robert Saleh. So he is supposedly up there talking right now. So we will continue to update you on anything important that he says. The biggest note that's come out so far, again, is the quote, Robert Saleh on Ruben Bain. His tape is undeniable.
Beautiful.
We're big Ruben Bain fans here on the show, so it's good to hear.
Thank you.
I'm interested to see if he talks about any of the other top prospects.
I'm intrigued. If Arvell Reese's name comes up in some of these, which they probably will, I wonder what the inflection point is on guys like that. Because, Paul Karski just tweeted out about eye contact and hugs. There is stuff to be said about the inflection of how you pronounce things and the interest in what you're saying. That, again, getting really in the weeds about this,
Yep.
but there's a possibility that may play a factor into this.
Combine work is underway. The first workouts officially on Thursday, and that will be the defensive line. So we will get to see Ruben Bain out there. I don't know how much he'll do, but you'll get to see some of the possibilities for that number 4 overall pick for the Titans coming up later on this week. That'll do it for us today. Dr. Crane, always great having you in.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We will do it again next week with Nick Frazier, and we'll get back to simulating the offseason, which will be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, Corey Curtis will join us for part of the show live from Indianapolis. We'll get all his reaction to Robert Saleh and much more. But coming up next, Chase and Big Joe, you're listening to 102.5 The Game.